And we're live.
We are live for episode, 173 of Live at the Hive Digital Marketing from the Trenches. I am Dan Nedelko.
Matt Stefanich.
So in today's episode, we have to take into account an international time lag because Sushita has been in India for the last 3 or 4 weeks with family.
Yeah.
So we will take appropriate pauses to let you answer, because this is like a CNN international, when someone's halfway around the world.
Yeah.
Interview.
Sure.
Awesome. Well, we've got some good stuff going on this week. Last week we got a little over ambitious. We thought we would be able to get through everything to do with local search and local SEO and local ads. And we ran out of time, so we've broken it up into 2 parts. And we're going to be talking again about how your local business, which is most local businesses are local business or have a component therein of being a local business. Effectively, you serve a particular service area around your geography, and you want to promote within that area for different types of services, whether they're virtual services or whether they're in-person services. So we're going to dig in to some ad types. So she's going to talk about some of the cool tricks you can do on the paid side with a very modest budget. Yep. And I think we're going to start with what's new and a little bit of digital marketing, SEO drama with big Google and Rand Fishkin.
Absolutely. So we have a couple marketing dramas this week, but it's actually
that's true.
With Google. So the title of this article is in 2022, 2/3 of Google searches ended without a click, which is pretty, I guess you could say, surprising. You can see here that throughout the article, they kind of talk about the analytics compared to previous years, the search results and clicks on desktop compared to mobile. But as you can see here, some of the charts that they've been showing within the article, they actually get a pretty good visualization of some of the clicks that people are getting from their paid, their organic, and then just straight up zero.
So Rand Fishkin is the founder of Moz.com. You'd be familiar with that if you're in the industry. Has since moved on to SparkToro, and last year he did a 2019 study. I think it's called Jump Shot, but now he's using similar web. And so this caused a bunch of controversy for a few reasons. Number one, I think Rand's got some valid points in here, but if you go through some of the threads, especially on Twitter, there are some clicks that are always going to be zero search clicks, right? I just didn't find what I was looking for, so I backed out. He's also not able to break down the types of searches that people are conducting. So it caused a bit of a stir. I think it's an interesting... Google is getting a lot of flack over zero-click searches. The most interesting thing about this, beyond the data itself, if you can open up Google's response, which is shocking because Google rarely responds to anything like this. And you can see Danny Sullivan, former editor of, I can't remember what site it was, but he was an SEO for a very long time and wrote all about it. Now he works at Google. And this response is actually pretty funny. It's a little bit of, hey, listen, everyone, trust us. We're nice. We're telling you in very vague terms, right? They'll never use specifics. So, they're defending their position on zero-click searches. And what zero-click searches are, and it's interesting, they actually just released as well a math featured snippet that will show the results in the search results without you having to go. Basically, whenever you run a search where your answer is delivered to you in Google's search results, that's a zero-click search, right? An example of that. So if you just stop scrolling for a second, I think if you scroll down a little bit, hello, April, Yvonne, Stacy. Okay, people look for quick facts. right? That's one. So yeah, maybe you want to know, who directed a film, for example, or who starred in that film. It doesn't really require going to a whole website to get that information. People argue that, hey, I just want to get a quick weather report. Now the question is for example, for NCAA March Madness basketball scores, which are happening right now, those are licensed. Like Google is paying the NCAA. I'm not sure who they're paying. I believe it's the NCAA to house that data, which, that I think is valid. But when it's taking content from other websites and providing that that information directly on Google, which is potentially driving people to more revenue generating actions within Google, this is where the issue raises its head. Now, there's all sorts of debate on the quality of Rand Fishkin's data. There's back and forth going on about that. But like I said, I think the most important thing is Google is going to be the target of an antitrust case, which means Google could be broken up into several companies. Now, whether that'll happen or not, who knows? But the most important thing about this is the fact that Google did respond to this, and we'll put the links for both of those in the chat.
Yeah. This feels like a little bit of a "it's not me, it's you" response type thing. You know what I mean?
There's a little bit of gaslighting maybe going on in the Google response,
but it's true. But some of the points that they do highlight here, they do make sense. People do look for quick facts, and we've spoken before about how zero clicks are affecting businesses like weather reporting, things like that. The snippets are kind of taking away the click from the business, right? So definitely some stuff to take in here. But for sure part of the marketing drama that's going on this week.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens with Google moving forward. You can tell that internally, I think they're aligning to get ready for an antitrust case. Pip is saying, I use Google as a spell check mostly. So this is a good example. There would be dictionary.com, thesaurus.com, those other players. That's an example of Google actually competing against the people that, there's an argument that Google is a website now, like it is a service. Now, it's using some of its own information data, but it's using a lot of other people's data without necessarily licensing it from them. So sticky situation, slippery slopes all around.
Absolutely.
Yep.
We can continue, though. We do have some more marketing drama. This one's a little bit more kind of juicy in terms of challenge response. But this week you might have seen it. Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Someone who bought a box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch found some shrimp tails in their cereal, and they posted on Twitter, and it went viral. It was the most talked about thing on March 22nd, and a lot of people did reply. Seth Rogen, a lot of celebrities replied, just kind of some humorous replies, and then Cinnamon Toast Crunch, they actually replied, and they didn't really handle it as well as they could have. They kind of skirted around it. The general response, especially on a clip that's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of likes and retweets, right?
And yeah, well, so let's just go back and read their response here and just pull that up.
Yeah, so they say the first response that they said was, "We're sorry to see what you found. We'd like to report this to our quality team and replace the box. Can you please DM us some more info to collect some details? Thanks." And then he kind of replied with the kind of humorous picture, kind of, "This is what I look like since eating your cereal." He obviously wasn't impressed with their response. So they replied again, and they said, "We understand your concern. We promise you that our team is looking into this and get to the bottom. But in the meantime, we want to do everything we can to make this right."
And the drama continues.
And then they say they basically deny whatever this guy's claiming. They say, "After further investigation with our team that closely examined the image, it appears to be an accumulation of cinnamon sugar that can sometimes occur when ingredients aren't blended thoroughly." So they're basically saying you didn't really find shrimp tails in your cereal. He shows a picture, and they're obviously shrimp tails coated in cinnamon dust. And it's just, they don't handle it correctly. They're basically saying it never happened. It's my word against yours. He kind of shared a couple DMs going through. So just a bit of a disaster overall. Yeah.
The outcome of this is, one, they just looked at the one picture. Secondly, they then asked him via DMs to send them both of the shrimp tails, which would then he would have none in his possession. They've apparently found some other stuff in the bags. Fun fact, this guy, he's now known as the Cinnamon Toast Crunch guy, is married to Topanga. If you ever watched the famous 90s show Boy Meets World. So she's a relatively well-known actress. So that was just kind of a fun fact. But he sent one off for testing. He actually had someone that's a crustacean specialist reach out to him. And so he sent one to this scientist and another to I guess General Foods, right? Yep. So let's see what happens on this. It definitely had some humorous threads coming back, and I think the Cinnamon Toast Crunch team has a little bit of work to do on their challenge response and how they deal with these kinds of things.
Yep.
It's a great case study in how not to handle crisis management with Twitter.
Absolutely. There's definitely some people who aren't comfortable with doing that. They don't understand what the public likes to hear in situations like these, and it sounds like they're sticking to their story, which isn't always the best.
Yeah. Well, this is a good example of how powerful social media is, and why, you shouldn't have inexperienced people on the front face of especially big brands, because things can happen incredibly quickly, and a corporatized response that maybe would have worked in the 90s is not going to work today. It's just not.
Absolutely.
So it's definitely worth studying what's going to go down with this.
For sure. And then I think the last article we have in here is an article that you found this week, Dan, which is the 11 expert ad designs and secrets to increase conversions. So just some cool tips in here that AdExpresso is giving us for a little bit more conversion on our ads.
Yeah, I think the important thing, and Sashita, I guess you can probably chime in on this, it's a never-ending process of testing and learning and trying different formats and seeing what works in what context.
Yeah, definitely agree. And also, it also depends upon so many variables. It depends upon who your target audiences are, what kind of business you're running, all of these.
Yeah, and we've had instances where campaigns that were working fantastically stop working for various reasons. Yeah. Sometimes you have to recreate the campaign and set it back into a learning phase. There's all sorts of different things. So I thought this was interesting because it's really good to see what other people have learned and what they're doing and what is working for them and how you can adapt that for yourself.
Absolutely, for sure. It's definitely things like this move pretty quickly, and businesses adopt these strategies pretty quickly as well. So it's good to kind of keep on top of and seeing what ad formats, what strategies people are using that might be able to work for you. So yeah, good stuff.
For
and with
sure.
that, I think we're going to be making the transition to what's working this week. So
right. So yeah, let's jump to the intro, and we can just kind of speak to what it is that we're talking about here. Just a massive amount of searches via Google and research via Facebook are for local services anywhere in the world, right? Mm-hmm. And so for businesses that do service local areas and potentially, whether it's products or services or professional services, this is an incredibly important and critical channel for every business to really start thinking about, because that mobile device that's sitting in your phone is the modern day Yellow Pages. It's where people discover local businesses, especially, and I think this is one of the most important things, especially because they're in a I need to moment, right? In those micro moments of, I need my garage door repaired, I need my furnace replaced, I need my pool serviced, my car broke down, keep going, right? The CRA is auditing me, I need an accountant. Yep. These are the types of searches that we're talking about here. And I think it's important to understand the one distinction, especially with organic optimization, but also on the paid side, is there are distinct nuances to how local businesses optimize versus how e-commerce or other media companies or different types of companies would optimize from that perspective.
Absolutely. Yeah, For sure.
Awesome.
So with this, we'll start with some of the local ad campaigns. And Sashita, maybe you can kick us off with this slide, just kind of maybe talking about some of the just some of the points on the slide, as well as some strategies that you think would be good for some local paid ads.
Yeah, for sure. So when we talk about Google's local paid ads, these are set just before your general text search ads. Also, these are available only for selected business types, which can go through the Google certification. They have to submit a few licenses and so on to qualify to be shown right on top of the search ads.
Exactly.
So I think it's
yeah. Sorry, Sashita. I was just going to say, yeah, the Google Guaranteed program, which is a slide on the top there. And when you go through that certification process, your ads can have the green check mark with the Google Guarantee. It's a very powerful signal for those allowable services, for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. And then here we can actually see a couple of examples of some local paid ads, and a couple of honeypot ones that we have in here as well. I think last week we discussed, and I think Dan, you brought it up, where using your phone number now instead of linking directly to your homepage, that's almost like a no-no, right? So including your phone number so that people can call you, especially when you're wanting emergency services. Like some of the examples that we brought up before, that's a great way to increase your conversions.
Yeah, for sure. The great thing, they're called call only campaigns. And we see often, especially, local businesses, especially if they're smaller businesses. And I don't mean small, like one person businesses. I mean the literal definition of an SMB, right? Could do millions and millions, tens of millions of dollars a year. Those call only campaigns should be replacing, if you've got, like, what we often see, people will put a $500 a month budget. They've had somebody do their ads for them. They just land on their homepage, and they have no idea, am I getting a conversion? I don't really know. There's no tracking in place. Yep. This is very, 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 very common. So to put tracking in place is actually is quite simple to understand. And a local business should never just drive people to the homepage. One of two options, and I think we've got some examples: a dedicated landing page. But even more ideally, if I was a small business and I was in a service sector, I would absolutely have call-only campaigns running all the time, especially for these emergency 24/7 services, repair services, that kind of thing. There's no landing page. It's just you're front and center. You're at the top of the fold. I believe you can. I'm not sure if you can add review extensions to call only. I'm not sure about that.
I haven't seen them from my end, at least.
Yeah, not to call only.
Right. Okay. So not to call only.
But recently, Google also updated the call only campaigns to call ads. So you can, if user is searching for any service or product on Google and only the call ad pops up, but if you want to know more about the service or products before giving that call, now Google enables like a clickable CTA, such as this one, which says visiting a website wherein you can explore the products before giving that call.
Yeah. So for example, what I would suggest here for a local business is have the call only campaign, then set up a landing page. Specificity is important, right? So what you could do, let's use a plumbing service or electrical service as an example. You could also do locksmith. So you got three typical services. If people want it, they have an emergency and they need something now, you want to use keywords related to emergency services, 24/7, on site, that kind of thing. Then create an ad like this. If possible, you can use a platform like CallRail, which is fairly inexpensive. It lets you create several different soft phone numbers that will redirect through, and it will track so which number was being used. Can you just jump back to the call only, Matt?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah. And then what you would do is create a custom landing page for your emergency services, specifically about that. And then if you had, 24/7 overnight services, you run those after business hours. If you've got, you want to schedule something, it's not a dire emergency, you have a bunch of variations on these call only campaigns, because what you'll be able to do is specify the keywords like I locked myself out of my car, I need to get my locks changed, right? Like you keep going down the line there. And this can become very, very powerful. So having a specific messaging for your specific target. Another good example of that is corporate versus residential, right? So if you have corporate services, you should be giving a different call to action than a residential service. I don't know. Is there anything else you would add to that, Sashita? Sorry, I kind of...
No, that's all.
Okay.
Awesome. We have some examples here too that we said that we'd kind of dive into. So these are examples of a local paid ad and some of the extensions that you can add to it. So here we see that we have one for the Home Depot, right? They have their phone number within their ad here. They have the location, the address, and then also they do have they have a highlight here. I think this might be an older screenshot of showing the amount of followers that someone has on Google Plus, but
yeah,
it also shows like their
dated,
ratings too. It's a little bit dated, but it still shows some really key information, like the ratings and the reviews that you currently have. So some good stuff here for sure.
Yeah. So Sashita, did you want to talk to what extensions are, and then especially that last one there?
Yeah, for sure. So Google offers a number of extensions. One of the most important ones are Google location extensions. So you can directly link your Google My Business account to the Google Ads account to get those locations displayed after, like just below your ad. And they are definitely very helpful when you have, especially like service-based campaigns and ads. And like Dan said, we have to make sure that we create different campaigns for different locations, just to give that personalized, effort to the campaign, and also just to be more specific. And then also we can add what is called as a map pin extension. So right below your Google search results, you get a map showing where your services are located, which are really very helpful to to reach out to the local.
Yeah, and get some
audience.
local traffic in the store as well too, right? Because sometimes I think that that's an overlooked metric of conversion too, is actually getting feet in the store. So it's a great suggestion for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So the other thing, and yeah, that top Home Depot screenshot is as it's somewhat dated, but you can add up to 6 extensions. So that would give you a view of a Google search result with the primary listing, and then below it extra listings, so that you actually have more real estate there to explain your product. The cool thing about map pins, and you do have to just connect your Google My Business to your Google Ads account, is you got 3 call extension opportunities with the map and directions as well, right? So this is something that you definitely want to consider a format for in your local ads. Again, don't just have Dan's Electrical 24/7 service that lands on the homepage. What we want to do is get the right call to action and the right messaging, and then use these extensions strategically to incite those phone calls and or the visits to map directions. And the cool thing is you get to see all those stats. Like you see the performance stats of the number of calls you received.
Yep.
Right? So it's not a soft like, well, we don't know how many people actually called. In fact, you do. You know exactly how many people called from that ad, and that's an important attribution, right? Which is the holy grail of paid advertising. What we constantly hear is, well, if you can make me, $2 for every dollar spent on digital advertising and your digital marketing strategy, you got almost an unlimited budget. And it's like, yes, that goes without saying, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But the idea being that we want to set ourselves up and our clients and the businesses we work with for success, and tracking is the most important thing. So if you're running your own, you really want to be thinking about how to track these things. Otherwise, it's going to become very frustrating, and it may be working, but you don't know because you're misattributing it.
Absolutely, for sure. And then kind of moving on to that location too, we already kind of discussed this a bit, but creating ads specifically targeted towards an area that you want to focus on for sure is something that you should be doing. It's definitely not a great idea to just target like all of Ontario, men and women between ages like blank. You want to make sure that when you're doing your local paid ad campaigns, you're hyper targeting, and you're making sure that your location is set up appropriately. And Sashita, I'll let you kind of expand on that.
Yeah, for sure. Again, like Facebook ads, we can use different types of location targeting. And the main tip would be like create different ad groups per location, just to know which is working properly. Just testing out different locations, and then if the audience size is small for one location, then we have to be sure to club those locations together. um, and also, like, when you're talking to specific local services, we use ads copy that is related, is talk like saying, hey Ontario, we are offering this discount or this service. That also, those kind of copies also are the top performers for Facebook campaigns.
Yep. So we can jump to the next. So we are currently on slide 7 of
out of 34. Yeah. So
is there going to be a part 3 here?
Yeah, hopefully
There may well be.
There might be. Yeah, and that's okay too. This is a good topic for sure, and we want to cover as much as we can. So.
Absolutely. So yeah, so a couple of things here, a couple of tricks. So Sashita's right. If you want to keep a couple of things in mind with local campaigns. One, do not over optimize when you have a smaller population or a tighter geography. Both Google and Facebook, algorithms will learn if you give it some cues, right? So don't over optimize. And if you see that you're not able to, the key is if you can't spend, if you can't reach your spend targets and you've got a very low, you're probably over optimizing with too small of an audience. So loosen up the demographics and age profiles, for example, because if you optimize, and when you create a campaign in Facebook and in Google, there's campaign, ad set, and ads, right? At the campaign level is where you set your objectives, they're called. And I think we may have a screenshot of objectives a little later on, but I just want to briefly speak to them. That is an incredibly important part of setting up a campaign. So you have app installs, maximize clicks, maximize conversions. What else? Website visits, Sashita. I'm just doing this off the top. There's a whole bunch of them.
Yes, lead generation.
Yeah, lead gen, maximize impressions, that kind of thing for branding. What you want to do is set your target at the campaign level. Have your ad sets can use also different budgets and different messaging, and then your ads specifically within the ad set. Often what we see are bad structures create poor performing ads, right?
Yep.
So you want to watch that. And if your campaign stops performing, pause it, create a new one, reset the objective, let it go into its AI learning. And it doesn't have to be that complicated, but quite often when we see failing campaigns, it's because wrong objective, right? And you've switched an objective after the AI has learned, right? So the platform will try to go in, if you say maximize clicks, and if you're running that campaign and you see performance is dwindling and you change the objective to maximize conversions or maximize leads, right? You should be creating a new campaign, because it has to go back into a learning phase, or it's going to have the wrong objectives that it's learned. I mean, these are artificial intelligence robots that are working for us, right? Just a few other tips in copy, wherever you are. If you've got like, hey, Hamilton, and use images of Hamilton so they know it's local and that you're a local business, right? And at least 4 ad copy variants and image variants, but no more than 6. Especially on Facebook. So don't create 100, but don't create 1, if that makes sense.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty, let's kind of move on here. So preferred audiences too. So you can use this feature, preferred audiences, to create some really great organic posts. Sashida, I don't know. Do you use this often when you're creating your posts or ads for your Facebook?
Yeah, for sure. And also, like, while posting certain posts, and if you want to restrict this to fewer target audiences, um, Facebook does allow you to restrict them using this the audience optimization for posts. So yeah, definitely we do use this tool.
Yeah. So one important thing about Facebook is driven by these audiences that you create, right?
Yeah.
So you create and nurture your audiences. Now, how that's going to change in the future, TBD. With the, what is it, the IDFA, but technically all of the privacy stuff that's coming out with iOS 14. Facebook has, and I don't know if they're blustering on this, but Facebook has said that we may retire the audience manager altogether. I feel like that's them kind of blustering to get people to panic. If some people that are spending millions of dollars a year in Facebook ads have invested heavily to build those audiences. So yeah. So audiences all over the place. And it's a nice trick to know that you can use the audiences that you've built, create lookalike audiences, and then use your organic posts to increase the reach for that.
For sure. Absolutely. And, just to kind of build off that, we don't have to spend too much time on this slide here, but just some great ideas that you can use for some local content ideas, right? So local events, community outreach, local promotions, meet the team, customer shout outs, and then just some kind of UGC, right? So this would be customer created content that people share with you in business.
Yep. I would strongly suggest UGC if you can get customer videos on the spot, if that's a possibility, especially after you've solved the problem. That can be very, very powerful. For
sure. Let's talk about a little bit about Google My Business coupons, because I don't think a lot of people know about this feature, Sashida.
Yeah, for sure. So Google also offers special coupons for your Google My Business campaigns. What these coupons are basically, in exchange of following your account or page, you can offer them a code, which is, you can also save it to your Google offers folder and then redeem it later. But I think it also encourages the users to kind of follow you and engage with your post on Google My Business.
For sure.
Yeah. And I think, it's something you can work into your paid promotions. It's definitely a great way to get a first-time customer. And I just want to highlight this because I know what a lot of businesses will say is, you know what, I'll lose money if I do that. Well, the whole point is with generating a new customer and generating a new lead is that they're going to have potentially multiple purchases or referrals. So, not saying that you should zero out any profit, but there are quite a few marketers and advertisers that run strategically on zero profit on the first sale, right? Because that opens the door to the second, third, the fourth, the fifth sales, which are both more profitable and more likely to happen. So honestly, I can say that from the time when we've engaged with anybody with a local business, not one of them has ever leveraged the Google offers in Google My Business. So it's very often overlooked.
Yep, absolutely. Already here. So we have some examples of some Google My Business products and services that you can use within your Google My Business account. And some of these, these are more so like these can be products and services that you offer your customers, not necessarily just items that you sell, right?
Yeah, you should definitely fill out your products and your services, whichever one of the sections you're in. Again, the whole point with Google My Business is the vast majority, and I wish I had numbers on this, the vast majority of Google My Business profiles have hours of operation, description, map location, and that's it.
Yep.
Right? The more you fill out your Google My Business profile, the stronger your presence will be. And again, I think for anybody watching right now that may not be familiar, what Google My Business is a giant interface to what's called structured data. And that structured data is the map pack and local searches and mobile local searches that you see. So if you're filling out your entire Google My Business profile, you're using the posting features, you've got products and services, you filled in everything and you're fully there, all of these things we're talking about now, Google will rank you ahead of your competition. And if you're number one for local searches for things like whatever, garage door repair, you know, veterinary services, keep going down the line. Imagine the amount of traffic that you can generate and calls you can generate by taking advantage of this. That's free. That's one of the reasons we're focusing on this topic, is because so many local businesses are saying, how can I get more visibility locally? And I have a limited budget. Well, here you go. Right.
Absolutely. And, you know, with these products, you can fill a lot of information, right? From category description to the price, product description, where you can buy the product, and it will actually show in your Google My Business as well, right? So, you know, you're already showing your products and showcasing your products before people are in that buy stage, right? When people are, you know, just getting introduced to your business. So some really good stuff there for sure. Alrighty. Here as well, you know, services, I think this is pretty straightforward and goes along with the product feature that we just discussed. But, you know, all of your services for here, we have kind of services that relate to like maybe auto mechanic, right? So you have repairs, installations, the list goes on, right? You want to make sure that you cover this and people understand what services your businesses offer before they come to you with an issue.
All right. So now the question comes up. We've talked about citations. I think we've talked about citations. Yeah, we did. So citations are known directories, the Better Business Bureau, Chamber of Commerce, Yelp, keep going down the line. There's lots and lots of them that will index your NAP, your name, address, phone number. Some do reviews, some have other information. But Google uses this and Microsoft use this as a signal to the legitimacy of the business. So you want lots and lots of citations, and you want, most importantly, accurate citations. Now, one of the things that's difficult is if I've got 120 listings for my business, right, and I need to have citations out there, well, what if I update my hours of operation? It's not reasonable to go to 120 sites and update the hours of operation, right? So the issue becomes, how do I manage all of this? And if my citations go out of whack, then I'm actually going to get not you penalized, but certainly Google doesn't like it. Or if you change a phone number, your address changes, then it all gets out of whack. So there are two platforms. One is Vendasta, the other is Bright Local. They're very similar. I think what we'll do, Matt, is because in the interest of time, let's just skip forward to Bright Local. Because so Vendasta and Bright Local, they're very similar. So you can just go. Yeah. There's Bright Local. Okay. So what Bright Local does is it allows you to connect your Google My Business profile to the platform, right? Then when that happens, you can manage your Google My Business listing from Bright Local. And then Bright Local will connect you to, it looks over 100 different citation sites. You literally push a button, and your citation information for your business is pushed out to all of these sites, okay? This helps incredibly with your Google local rankings. And again, we're focusing on the map packs and the location and keyword information for your business, right? So if I, you know, maybe just Google a mechanic near me, Matt, we'll see. This is a totally blind survey, so we'll see what happens. Okay, so there's CarStar first. Keep going down. That's an ad. There we go. Up. No, we want to go to the pack. Yep. Okay, so Total Quartz got their plan together. So they've got a map pack ad right there. Right now you can see that My Mechanic Shop. We should really, you know, if anybody from My Mechanic Shop is watching, please go fill out your Google My Business profile, get some reviews there. Downtown Auto Center, 39 reviews, looking good. Dave's Auto Service, 5-star, 35 reviews, looking good. That is what we're optimizing for. And on mobile, it's an even more powerful view of how that works. So that's one of the first things that Bright Local will do. So if we can, we can jump back now. So a bunch of stuff that it does: monitors, audits, and it also connects to your Google Analytics. It's going to show you some really great stuff. So we can probably just jump forward a little bit. There's also a reputation manager that helps you manage your reviews, the citation builder, and it'll help you learn how to increase your rankings. You can get more search traffic, and you know, the beauty of this for a local business is this gives metrics to everything, and it gives you a method as a small business or a local business. You could be I keep saying small business. You could be a really big business like Home Depot, right?
Yeah.
That's not a small business. They locally optimize everything for their business. So this works for small, medium, and large businesses, coast to coast businesses with hundreds of locations. And like I said, the beauty of the platform, it gives you one place to work, to focus your attentions, so that if you have updates, you don't have to go running around to different citation sites.
For sure. And I think, you know, with a platform like Bright Local, it's great for, you know, businesses who are do-it-yourself marketing, right? What it will do is it will put all of the analytics, all of your citations in one place. It's going to show you where they're coming from, why they're important, and then it's going to give you, you know, ways to improve on that, right? And really that's what people want from this as well, right? They want to learn how to create these strategies themselves and how these things interconnect. And I think that for a lot of businesses who do kind of like do-it-yourself marketing, they don't really understand that correlation of why these things are so important, right?
Well, I think there's a wide range of businesses. I think oftentimes when people think of local business, they think of a mom and pop shop.
Yeah.
And that's not, it's kind of an incorrect connotation. Like I said, Home Depot, Lowe's, Rona, those are local businesses, right? They have an online e-commerce presence, but they have physical locations and they're
Google My Business too, right?
Oh yeah, and they manage that quite strongly. So let's keep jumping forward a bit here.
Okay.
So yeah, and again, what you can see is you see the percentage of citations that you've got, your citation score. So this one's a 46 out of 100. Okay, so we can get, you know, if we can get 40 or 50 more citations, that's really going to help boost us. You know, maybe what we can do, and the beauty of this is you could run just as an example, if you see, hey, we want to run a call-only campaign like we talked about before, right?
Yeah.
And we want to see the lift that it's going to have for our phone calls incoming. You're now able to measure this and bring this data into this dashboard, see the impact of your spend, correlate it to, you know, hopefully correlate it to sales, maybe with one of those coupon codes from Google My Business that you could put in there. And then also run a reviews program and see the cause and effect of the things that you're trying to do here. Okay. So that's the beauty of this. Yep. You can see there customer actions from Google My Business, visits to your website, direction requests, and how many phone calls you've got coming through. That's what I was just referring to. How people found you via discovery or direct, so you can see how your brand is faring, and over the months you can see if you're working on your brand, you'd get more direct searches.
For sure.
Yeah, you can also pull in your Google Analytics as well, so it'll integrate your Google Analytics.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's more like a consolidated kind of analytics and condensed analytics that you would kind of get from Google.
Yeah, I think we can just focus. You know what? SEMRush has a local audit tool. There's a lot of options. Personally, having used all of these, SEMRush is a great tool set across the board, but they do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
If you're looking to focus solely on your business, Bright Local is really great. We could get you set up. You can go set up your own account, whichever. But they all do very, very similar things of what we're looking at here. They do local audits and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think SEMrush would be like a next step for someone. I would definitely start off with, you know, Bright Local, but definitely SEMrush would be the next logical step when you're trying to get the next step, right?
Yeah. I think one of the things is, you know, if you're a blended, it depends on the type of business you are. If you're really focused on, you know, local brick and mortar style services, right? Then yeah, Bright Local is going to give you everything you need. If you have an e-commerce component with, you know, with your local, you may look to SEMrush. I will say one thing: the local audit tool and the local tools that SEMrush have don't go as deep as Bright Local.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to kind of pick what works best for you. We're just giving some different options that you could put in there. Okay. And so just to wrap it up, I'll just do the one thing on. Here's a nice little trick that will help you. Can you go to a GeoImgr?
Yep.
I don't know. Did I talk about this? Yeah, I think I did, but I'm going to say it again.
Oh, yeah, because we didn't. I think we did a brief kind of discussion, but we didn't go too further.
Okay. So what GeoImgr is a simple tool that will allow you to upload your images that you put on your website, that you put in your Google My Business profile, and it will add latitude and longitude geotags into the image, which Google can then index. Okay, so that's going to help your local. Again, we're talking about the strength of your local search profile on the organic side. And by using metadata, like when we talk about SEO, we talk about titles and descriptions. In e-commerce, it's a title, and there's also like product descriptions that are very important. This type of a metadata is extremely useful for geotagging. So your images will also be more relevant to your overall business, just like having alt tags on a normal website would have. You can just drop your images on there. It'll ask you to type in the address. It'll process it. You can download it. You can then use that image on your website, on your Google My Business profile, wherever, and you will have latitude and longitude data built into the actual image itself. A nice trick to get some more authority for your business for local searches.
Definitely, and it's a good habit to get into when you're uploading your photos, right? It's one of those things that you might overlook, and then, you know, once you're getting into it for a few months and adding more photos and getting more geotags, it's one of those small things that adds up, right? And it just continues to improve your local SEO.
Well, yeah, and just to wrap this up, one of the most important things is with SEO, and I think with digital marketing too, the devil is in the details, and it's in consistency. Yeah. So, you know, sometimes I think people are get overly worked up over core web vitals. Is my page loading in 2.8 or 3.1 seconds? It's important to consider speed. It's important to consider major technical issues. It's also important to do the boring, mundane stuff. Writing accurate meta titles and meta descriptions, and being thoughtful about alt tagging and your images, using things like lat and long in your image. None of this is sexy.
No, it's the last thing you want to do when you're in the middle of your strategy.
It can be extremely boring, but it pays dividends, because that type of quality and consistency will pay off. And if you could imagine that, if you could put together a list of 150 keywords for your local business, and you could outrank 80% of those for the number of searches, and they even got 20 searches a day times 150, do the math on the potential new business you could be generating by doing these things. So
yeah, a lot of people aren't doing it, so do it, you know.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. All right. Well,
do we want to do a part 3? Do you think we can do a part 3, Dan?
I mean, we can always come back to local SEO and local marketing. I think a lot of what we were talking about there was reviewing different platforms, but you know, I think Bright Local kind of shines out, you know, for this specific topic. Sure. Not to say that the others aren't great tools, but I think it's just Bright Local has the widest tool set that helps businesses run. So, but we will come back and be revisiting a lot to do. Local search is a big deal, right? Yeah. It's 67% of all searches are related to local searches, right?
Especially during COVID, right?
Yep. And just again, I think the one thing to remember is, because it means local doesn't mean it means mom and pop. Yeah. Some of the biggest corporations in the world care about that local search. Like Walmart cares about how many people come into their stores, right? And so, you know, you can do the same thing with your business and see a lot of growth. So, all right. Well, Sashita, thank you for pulling a happy Saturday morning to you.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me.
All right. Anytime. All right, everybody. You have a great weekend, and we will see you next week. Same B time, same B channel. Peace out. Have a great one.
Bye.